Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Crushing Land. Happy to be with you here today on this Wednesday to discuss another relevant land investing topic. And what we're going to do today is we're going to focus a little bit on people that are just starting out in the land business. There's been a lot of new people that have been following us and have been subscribing and have been in the group and things like that, have zero experience when it comes to land investing. And so I want to take some time to address them and help them to avoid costly mistakes. And the bottom line is that even if you've been doing this for a little while, maybe you've overlooked some of these things, or maybe you're kind of looking at them wrong and things like that. And so basically, this is good for everybody, but particularly for those of you that are just getting started in land investing or want to get started in land investing and not really sure what to start, right? Because the bottom line is that so many people, they're like, well, I really want to do it, but I have low amount of capital to invest. I have little experience. I don't really have knowledge. And the last thing I want to do, you think about real estate, and it kind of goes in hand with people in their mind of being expensive. And so they're like, I don't want to get myself into a mess and have these costly mistakes. And that's certainly understandable. It's something that we hear a lot, something that we address. And so we want to talk to you about that. So today I'm going to help you with 4 of those different things. We're going to spend a little bit of time breaking down, not in huge detail, but just kind of helping you to understand 4 different areas that I see new investors make mistakes in quite often. People that come and work with us, even from other programs, things like that, have said, like, this is where I stumbled, over the years, now teaching this for 8 years plus, doing this for 12, 13 years now. I've seen these things over and over and over again. It's something that I want to address and help you with. So we're going to jump right into it. Again, 4 biggest mistakes that I see some new land investors make. So the first one is very simple, but it happens all the time. Is simply overpaying for the property. And you may sit there and say, well, if you're doing this, or how do you do that? How do you overpay? How do you make that mistake? But what happens is you may know up here that you should only pay X for a property in order to still make money on the property. But what happens is, as you're getting going, you're just so excited and you're waiting for that first deal. And you've got a piece of property that's worth $20,000, and you offer $10,000 on it, and you're like, this is gonna be great. And then the seller comes back and they say, I can't do 10, I can do 16,000, and you hem and haw with them, and you agree on 15, and you think it's a great deal. And the bottom line was 20 was like the market cap, and it's hard to sell it for that. That's like the best circumstances. And so now you're sitting there and you've got a contract at 15, and you're trying to sell it for 20, and you can't really move it too easily, and you either have overpaid for it and that you actually purchased it, and you're going to have very, very, very small profit margins, or you're trying to double close the property and there's really no room to go anywhere. You have to get top dollar, because if you don't, there's really nowhere to go as far as making profit potential. And where this, again, comes into play the most is because people just want that first few deals, that very first one, and the ones that follow quickly. They just want to, like, proof of concept. They want to get there. They want to have it going. And because of that, when these sellers respond, they're like, oh, yes, I'll do this. I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to go up. I'm willing for this. And in reality, it's hurting you because you're overpaying. And even if you make a little bit of money, you're spending a lot of time to put very, very, very small deals together. If you're going to do something like that and you're only going to make very little amount of money, you're much better off going to the very other end of the spectrum, the super low end, and buying properties for a few $100s and selling them for a few thousand. And obviously you have no capital tied up at that point. There's no risk. And obviously you can owner finance them. You can do other things at that point, and you can make it go a lot better. So, there's nothing wrong with small profit margins, but the problem is if you are going against that highest, market ceiling on the property, and then you're going to offer even more against that, and there's really no room for any flexibility, you get yourself stuck in a situation. I've had people all the time that have actually gone the other way with that. They're looking at comps that range anywhere, let's say from $20,000 to $40,000 on a piece of property, and they just assume that theirs is in the 40,000. Oh, well, there they are. I can get 40. So the seller comes back and says 20, and they got one of those properties that is 20. And so you're overpaying, and now you have zero ability to make profit. So overpaying for properties is a huge one that a lot of beginning investors make. A mistake that they make because again, they want that first deal. So, and you know, as you go along, you'll start to realize that there's plenty of these other deals where you could still have profit potential, but you're trying to force that deal. You're trying to get in there. And so because of that, you overpay for it. What I was just describing goes along with our second point, which is a huge one. And this is something that even experienced investors make mistakes with all the time. And part of the reason that that's the case is because so many people out there that teach this almost completely ignore this step. It's almost like it doesn't exist, and and they just don't have the knowledge, they don't have the background, they don't have the information, all these other things to make it work. And that is ignoring the proper due diligence on a piece of property. I just spoke about, you know, you're working in an area and you see comps that are ranging from $20,000 to $40,000. That's a huge range. Well, I've got pieces of property right now that are in an area that is the exact situation. 20 is low, it's more like 25 on the very low end. High end, mid 40s, pushing maybe 50,000 on very, very good properties. But these are the same subdivision. So you're talking about properties that are ranging from, let's just say, a $20,000 range, from $25,000 to $45,000. Can I offer the same amount on the $25,000 piece of property that I can on the $45,000? Well, no, right? My due diligence in the property in doing this is what's telling me that. There's a lot of profit potential in this area. There's a lot of profit potential with these type of deals, but you can't treat everything equally. And so many people miss the due diligence process when they're doing things. And because of that, they go back to that overpaying for properties, or they just can't move them. If they're playing the game of assignments, double closing, and things like that, which a lot of people do, they get these properties, they get them under contract, they say, I'm going to do this, they skip the due diligence, then they go to market it, they think it's a $40,000 piece of property, it's really a $25,000 piece of property, and they can't do anything with it. They go back to their seller, they try to renegotiate, the seller says no, they don't even know why they're renegotiating other than they can't sell it for $40,000 because they don't do the due diligence. And that's the bottom line there. So you need to actually spend time doing due diligence on your properties before you move forward with them. You need to find out certain aspects of them. You need to find out different things that are there. We break all of that down in our teaching, but again, helping you to understand exactly what you're looking at, comparing apples to apples when it comes to properties, right? Even in the same subdivision, right? You can have so many different variables, and so many people simply overlook that. And one of the ways that they try to kind of escape around it is that they say, well, I only attack, properties with public utilities, infill lots, ones that, builders are going to want to buy. Okay, well, you're narrowing down your criteria by doing that. But also the subdivision I just mentioned, there's a huge discrepancy there, right? We're working in there and there's properties with public water and public sewer, properties with only public sewer, properties with only public water, properties with neither, right? Properties with access, but the lines aren't there yet. Properties that you need a well, properties you need a septic. All of these different things in the exact same subdivision. So if you went in and attacked and basically were like, they all look the same, but you didn't do your due diligence, now you're sitting there and you're looking at it thinking, hey, these are all exactly the same, and they're not. So due diligence is a huge thing. And again, that is something even for seasoned investors that we have all the time. We have these different calls. We're working with our students. We're doing our group calls, our one-on-one, and we're always, what is your due diligence telling you? What are you seeing? What is this? What is this? What is the county telling you? What information are you getting? Something that we really drive in. So very, very big point that so many people skip, and it's a huge, huge, huge mistake. It's something that a lot of people don't even teach, or they teach it very minorly, and they basically just kind of blow past it. And that is setting yourself up for failure. Costly mistakes we talked about, that can be a huge one. And again, just going by to the example I gave, right? You got a piece of property, you got a contract for 20 grand. If it's a $25,000 piece of property, and that's like the market cap, you have nowhere to go. But if it's one of those $45,000 pieces of property, you actually got a really decent deal sitting there for the exact same thing. So the due diligence is what makes a difference. The other thing that's a big problem is not picking the right markets, not understanding market demand. I've heard people say before that basically this works anywhere you want. There's 3,000 something counties out there in the country, and you could go work in any single one of them. They all work, blah, 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 blah. And it's simply not true. It's not true. You need to understand the market conditions. You need to understand the market demands. It's it's the very first thing that we teach, but yet so many people skip it because they just have an idea in their mind of where they want to go. And especially if they live near there. So many people say, well, I live here, so this area is great. And it may not be, right? We don't all live in the best investing areas. You may like where you live for one reason or another, but it may not be the best to invest in, right? It may be cold, it may be too hot. There's two, very, very big differences between things. It may be perfect, but it may not be. And so many people just focus on jumping. Oh, I know this area and I want to do it. And it's not a smart move. So they're not convinced. They don't know the market conditions. They don't know the market, what the demand is in that area, anything like that, and where things are going. So because of that, people make bad decisions in their original assessment. And when you do that, when you make that mistake, when you do that the first time and you've taken that first step and you've done that wrong, everything that follows is wrong. That's not something that recorrects itself, because if the area is bad, even if all the other things line up, you start doing marketing and then you get responses, and then you make offers and you get contracts back on, but you can't move the properties or everything's bad. Even if you get all the way to the end, it doesn't work, right? Or it doesn't work well. So you may get fortunate, you may pull a deal or two out, or you may just get absolutely nothing. Maybe it's way too hot. Maybe that's the end of the spectrum. It's way too hot of an area. And so because of that, you're making offers and everybody's just laughing at you. Or maybe it's the other way. Maybe it's not investable at all. And you're sitting there and you're making good offers, and people are good offers on paper, and people are sitting there and they're accepting them, and then you can't move those properties, right? That exists. So not understanding the market demand, not understanding the market conditions. Finally, the last thing we're talking about, biggest mistake that people make, and in my opinion, this is probably the largest one, is not having the right foundation. Not having the right foundation in the land investing business. And there's actually people out there that teach this. They teach it wrong. They go out there and they tell you what your foundation should be. If you want to be a real estate investor, if you want to be a vacant land investor, if you want to do any sort of business, what is your foundation? It's knowledge of that business, right? You need to understand the working pieces of the business, right? Our entire program is built off of getting you educated with land investing. So many people focus on it's all about networking. It's all about, personal branding. I hear that one a lot. It's all about things like that. That stuff's important. Don't get me wrong. I do it, right? We're doing it right now with this, but I've been doing this for a very long time. If you jump right in with that and you're like, well, it's all about networking, but you have no clue what you're doing when it comes to, what are you networking with? You're networking with other investors, but you don't know how to buy a property. You don't know how to sell one. What good does that do you? Or you go out there and you spend all this time and all this effort to put out this personal brand, and yet the brand doesn't fit the actual item. What good does that do? You can sit out there and you can make yourself out to be the greatest land investor on earth, but if you have no clue what you're doing, you have no clue how to buy, no clue how to sell, how to actually do the deals, then the brand is useless. And so many people focus on, these attributes, this is what you need. You need that, you need that branding, right? You need that in there. You need these automations, you need all these things, and yet they have no clue how to actually do the land deals. They have no clue how to truly market. They have no clue how to truly get the price. They have no clue how to negotiate. They have no clue how to do all of these other things in place and then go on to the next. So it's definitely not something that you want to start with. It's very good after you get going. Have that brand, right? Have that message, have that information out there. But you need to know what you're talking about. And you can clearly tell, kind of looking at some people out there, especially in real estate, but in all areas, you can tell the ones that are kind of like all about themselves, all about the branding, all about the automation, all about pointing fingers at everybody else, all about all of these things to make themselves look good, but they talk very, very small, very minimally about the actual product, which in our case is land, or it could be real estate, houses, or anything. And then you see others out there, and many of them I follow, many of them I'm friends with and stuff like that, that are out there promoting themselves very much. They're doing all the exact same things that I just mentioned, but at the same time, their content is relevant to what we're actually talking about, right? They're out there and they're like, this tool really helps you, right? My brand really helps me. If you look me up, it's this. I just did this the other day. I was like, hey, look me up. Look who I am. Look what I teach when talking to somebody about a land matter. I actually posted it on Facebook saying, hey, and this helped me in a situation with that. So there's nothing wrong with those things, but you actually need to have the true foundation. And I mean true, I mean real knowledge, not, hey, I've gone out there and I've done 3 deals and man, I understand this now and I'm going to go brand myself to death and that's going to be the end of it. No, you're going to fall flat on your face. So that's a big mistake that a lot of people make. And I don't necessarily blame them, blame you if you're starting for doing that. I blame a lot of other people because they teach that it's so highly important. And in reality, it means very little. It'll help you in the long run. It'll help you do deals down the road. It will help you grow. It will help you in a lot of different areas, but it's so much more important, to go out there and actually build the foundation. It's just like a house, right? You got to put the foundation, you got to put the structure, and then you put the roof on. If you want to go out there, and pour a little concrete and then say, I'm going to do your roof, I'm going to go shingle my roof, makes absolutely no sense. But that's literally what these people are doing by saying that. So again, 4 huge mistakes that I see people make all the time, right? Overpaying for the property, that's a big one. Ignoring due diligence, that's a huge one. Not understanding what the market conditions, what the market demand is, and then not having the right foundation. Again, this was designed more for beginners in this case. There's a lot of different videos out there. We've broken down these things even more in some of those videos. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it anywhere for that matter, watching it anywhere, we do have our free course. There'll be a link down below in the comments for that. That's on YouTube. No subscription needed, nothing like that. You can get in there. It's a great place to start, that foundation that I'm speaking about to help you to understand these actual pieces of land investing and having that background, having that foundation ready to go so that you don't make these same mistakes that so many other people do. So again, thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of Crushing Land. Check back for more, like and subscribe for more content. Check out our short videos where we break things down. And again, check out our free land investing course. It's sitting right out there, Intro to Land Investing, to help you avoid these costly mistakes that so many other people make. Get out there, do well with this, get that foundation, get going, and you can kill it in land investing just like so many others. So again, thanks for joining us this week on Crushing Land. We'll see you next time.